They'll be on their way up. I want to start with Senate Bill 480. Amelia, could you give us an overview?
Madam Chair, Senate Bill number 480 related to the State Board of Tax Appeals, and it would authorize teleconference or video conference hearings in their small claims and expedited hearings division.
Committee, any questions? Seeing none, committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I see no need to amend the legislation, so I would make a motion that we pass Senate Bill 480 favorably.
It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Peterson. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, committee. Let's turn our attention to Senate Bill 482. Thank you, Amelia.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 482 relates to tax levy rates and would amend the revenue neutral rate statute to provide that county clerks are not required to send revenue neutral rate notices to property owners of exempt property.
Thank you, Amelia. I think we have an amendment or two lined up for that. Amelia, do you mind going over the amendment?
Madam Chair, what's being handed out now is language from Senate Bill number 8. This was language that would have been found in the CCR from last year. The particular pages that are included in this handout are the pages relating to 792988, and these were provisions relating to modifying the hearing notice language and what was provided on the hearing notice. And you can, if you turn to the third page of the handout, or it's marked, it's page 17 of Senate Bill 8, you'll see the proposed language and the modifications that are being made to the hearing notice. And Eddie might have some additional comments. I don't know if, I believe we had a kind of a mock-up of that last year that was handed out in committee, and unfortunately, I don't have that with me today.
We did, and we have not made any changes to it, and I spoke with the Department of Administration. They did not have any other suggested changes, so I think we're good to go on this. I just wanted to make sure, and we wouldn't need this amendment. I just wanted to refresh the committee's memory in case it shows up in a conference committee report or something. It did pass last year, and it passed across the Senate floor, and it passed in CCR 8. So I'll make a motion to amend Senate Bill 482 to include the contents of CCR 8 regarding to the revenue neutral rate letters. It's been seconded by, or moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Baumgardner. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, we have another amendment. It was brought to us by the Honorable Steve Abrams. I think it will strengthen the legislation and make it, and just clarify what we intended. That's the one. Thanks, Amelia.
The handout that's being handed out relates to revenue neutral rate, and it would clarify on the second page that you see there, which is actually page 5 of the bill, that it would provide that in the event a governing body does not comply with subsection B, which are the hearing and notice requirements, because such governing body did not intend to exceed its revenue neutral rate, but if the final taxable assessed valuation that's used to calculate the actual levy is less than the estimated assessed valuation that was used to calculate the revenue neutral rate, the governing body would be permitted to levy a tax rate that generates the same amount of property taxes levied the previous year or less.
Committee, any questions? Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to see, does all of this take effect this year?
July 1st, I think, with that, the bill. Thank you, Amelia.
The bill currently reads from and after publication of the statute book, which would be July 1st.
2024. Okay, thank you, Madam.
So it would be in the revenue neutral rate process this year, if we were able to get this passed into law. Yeah, thank you. I always feel like I need to qualify that. I'll make the motion. Is there a second? Senator Peck. It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, we do have one other amendment for clarification in this revenue neutral rate language. It seems like some of the governing bodies are attempting to game the system, and they don't want to vote in front of their constituents. So we want to make it clear that they have to take that vote in front of constituents. We're taking all these votes in the open. It's the way we want government, transparent. So Amelia, do you mind? As the vice chair pointed out, we do have language, and it is obvious that our intent was on the same day as the meeting, but I think this amendment just double clarifies it. Amelia, do you mind?
Madam Chair, the handout that's been provided, if you'll turn to the back, you'll see the additional language that is added. Currently, the sentence begins that such vote of the governing body shall be conducted at the public hearing. It would also add on the same day as commencement of the public hearing.
Questions? Senator Baumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can tell you that I have certainly participated in city and county meetings whereby they ran the clock and made sure that it went past what would be broadcast live for the 10 o'clock evening news and would run the clock to make this past midnight. So I'm just kind of curious how we intend to address that, because this is the same day, and after midnight, it's a new day. Cinderella knows that.
Well, thank you for the question, and this would force them to vote in the same day before the midnight hour, or a constituent could challenge it with VOTA.
Okay, thank you.
So I think this addresses your scenario. Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know there's a lot of, I don't know actually the statute. Is there a requirement that says a public organization, a city or county has to put out an agenda?
So not an agenda, but a notice for the meeting.
And is that notice on the agenda?
I don't think that the statute currently has any qualifications on the agenda. Do Eddie or Amelia?
This particular statute relating to the revenue neutral rate doesn't include any agenda requirements. It's the notice and how to conduct a public hearing.
And I have a follow-up question.
Senator Reddy.
Sure. The reason I ask that is sometimes these are publicized in a public notice, like in a local newspaper or wherever. I don't know if that's the qualification. Right now, it has to be in a newspaper. But a lot of rural communities don't have a newspaper per se. So if it just says public hearing, unless there's an agenda that says we are having it at this time or at this place, sometimes people just don't know. But if everybody's good with it, I'm fine with the way it is written then.
No, thank you, Senator, for the question. Just a reminder, it is a required letter that goes out to the property owners. And that is a portion of the bill that they would not have to mail the letter to any properties that do not pay property taxes. Otherwise, you will be getting a notice of a time, date, and location of the hearing, the public hearing where you may comment. And then the intent is that they vote at that hearing. And I've witnessed, as some of the other senators on the committee, that they are trying to deny our intent or go around it. And so this, we're making it quite clear that you need to vote when you hold the hearing.
And just to follow up to that, I think there's also a question if there's public comment in some of these committee meetings, because we had that conversation when I was on the city commission. But I do understand the intent of it, and I'm fine with it. I'm just thinking about logistics and how would you enforce something like this? I don't know.
Right, and what we do allow the local governing bodies, and I hope we never have to put anything in statute, we allow them to decide the amount of time and how they handle the hearing. That's up to them. But it is important that they do hold the hearing and do hear from constituents. So, any other discussion? I'll make the motion. Is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Would you like to be recorded? Yes. Senator Wilburn would like to be recorded as a no vote. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Do you want to? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would move that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass Senate Bill 482 as amended favorably.
I'll second the motion. Discussion on the motion. It's been moved in Senate by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Tyson. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, will you turn your attention to Senate Bill 2465. It's similar contents in Senate Bill 313. We will not be working 313, but we will work 2465. We just had the hearing on this yesterday, but I will ask for a refresher, Amelia. Thank you.
Madam Chair, yes. House Bill number 2465 would clarify the determination of taxable income of an electing pass-through entity and provide for the passing through of tax credits to the electing pass-through entity's owners for purposes of the SALT Parity Act. The provisions would apply to tax years commencing on and after January 1 of 2022. And this bill did pass the House March 29th of 2023 on a vote of 124-0. And there were, as you recall yesterday, a few handouts that were handed out and discussed a little bit as well.
Thank you. Committee, do you still have your handouts? We didn't bring extra copies, so they should be in your folder unless you carried them down. Okay, we do have quite a few amendments on this. First would be the SALT amendment that was offered, handed out yesterday. Committee, it's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Tyson. Discussion on the motion. And Amelia is going to clarify the handout, which motion we're working from, and a reminder that to the committee that we did work with Revenue and several CPAs involved. Again, I thank Forvis, formerly BKD, the CPA Association, Marley, and others. They were very instrumental in getting language that we hope that we do not see in a while in this committee. So, Amelia.
And for clarity, we are, I believe the good senator right now is referring to the handout from yesterday that at the top reads SALT parity February 7, 2024, and then begins with amendments to 7932-284, and then also amendments to 7932-287.
That's correct. So questions on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we're back on the bill. We do have another motion or another amendment. We'll do WOTC first.
Madam Chair, another of the handouts yesterday at the top states WOTC KSA 7932-117 subsection C10, and it is dated January 25, 2024, and it provides an amendment related to the work opportunity tax credit.
So I'll make that in form of a motion. Is it a second? It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Seeing Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my understanding from yesterday's conversation is this doesn't have any fiscal note implications. It's at zero.
Actually, this one does have Eddie will talk to that on the fiscal notes.
The Department of Revenue provided an estimate of approximately $350,000 per year attributable to the work opportunity tax credit disallowance.
Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We have another amendment. So this is, the business interest. Thank you, Amelia. It was also handed out yesterday.
The third handout from yesterday at the top is titled Disallowed Business Interest Deduction. It also amends 7932-117, both subsections B and C, to clarify provisions that were adopted a few years ago related to disallowed business interest.
So I'll make the motion. It's been moved and seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion carries. So we're back on the bill, the net operating loss. And we have a handout for that. Just to remind the committee, this language was also in CCR 8 last year. It also passed the Senate floor last year. It's just a refresher, so that. So committee, we do not have copies on that, so we'll go over it, and if there's any questions or concerns, we'll withdraw the motion. But I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with it. Thank you, Amelia.
Yes, this language relates to net operating loss. It would also be an amendment to 7932-117 subsection C. It relates to net operating losses arising from taxable years 18, 19, or 20, relating to some federal net operating loss carrybacks pursuant to the CARES Act. This language actually was in Senate Bill 40 last session, which was heard in this committee on January 26th of 2023 and passed out of committee. Actually, it passed out of committee in Senate Bill 40. I apologize. I'm not sure. Yeah, actually, it was the original Senate Bill 40. The language as introduced. And it did make it across the floor on a vote of 40-0, and then it was also found in CCR 8. And this would allow, for those 3 taxable years, it would allow a Kansas carry forward for those net operating losses.
And just to be clear, it allows them to file for it for 1 year. Is that, or it's a little longer than a year, but would you explain that, please? Thank you.
It's a little confusing. The federal net operating loss carryback provisions applied to 18, 19, and 20. So there is a provision in here that would allow a taxpayer to file amended returns in Kansas for those tax years to take advantage of the net operating loss and then carry it forward. The carry forward may not need any sort of extension, but those amendments for those prior years, they do have until April 15, 2025 to apply.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Any concerns on moving forward? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. All those opposed, nay. Yeah, I moved, you second. Motion carries. We do have another amendment. It was brought to us by Senator Clays. Very much appreciated. I think it helps clarify language going forward. It was some of my concern with this legislation. And just a reminder to the committee, I know in the beginning of the year, we made a general motion to allow the revisor's technical leeway when working on legislation. She will definitely need that leeway today. Committee, I'll make the motion. It's been moved by Senator Tyson. Second, oh, Senator Clays, would you like the honor of making the motion since? Okay, it's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Clays. Discussion on the motion. Senator Holland.
Yeah, I'm just curious, is Department of Revenue, are they aware of this amendment? Do they know what it does?
They are aware of the amendment. I emailed it to them yesterday. We do have a fiscal note too. Eddie, do you mind?
Yeah, I'm happy to. There are 5 credits that are specified in 280C subsection A of the federal code. I sent those out yesterday to Senator Tyson and I believe Senator Clays and also the Department of Revenue. We discussed this with them. One of those is the work opportunity tax credit that you, I believe, previously addressed. The other 4 are the Indian Employment Credit, which I believe Department of Revenue confirmed has actually expired at the federal level. The Employer Wage Credit for employees who are active duty members of the Uniformed Services, the Employer Credit for paid family and medical leave, and the Empowerment Zone Employment Credit. The Department of Revenue indicates that there are no empowerment zones in the state of Kansas. The Indian Employment Credit has expired, and so the active duty members of uniformed services and paid family and medical leave are the only 2 that this really loops in terms of having any effect. And the Department of Revenue indicates that the fiscal impact anticipated to be attributable to those is negligible for the state.
Senator Holland.
So just for those 2 groups that are still theoretically active, this would take away a benefit from those groups?
No, actually, Eddie.
No, the federal law requires that if you benefit from these federal tax credits, that you are disallowed the deduction for those expenses that are attributable to the credit. And that disallowance of those deductions flows through to Kansas by way of conformity. This allows the deduction on their state return.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you. Senator Clays.
Just by way of explanation, what had occurred is the items under this were changed at the federal level. And so by changing it in this manner, if there were to be an additional one or a change at the federal level, we would still have that, that disallowance. So they would be allowed at the state level. And that's what occurred previously, was the work opportunity tax credit. And when they changed those, revenue maybe took a year, but figured it out and started not allowing it. So we're just making it so that this is sort of impervious to federal change in the future.
Senator Holland.
Okay, one other question, just want to be sure I understand. So if there are any then future federal code changes where the feds say we don't want this to be going on anymore, would there still be potential Kansas return beneficial tax consequences to the filers, even though the feds had turned off that federal option?
Senator Clays.
So under this one, that would be a no, because if they were to remove it from 280CA, then it would also be removed at the state level by virtue of how this is written.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, we do have one more amendment on this. I think that's the last amendment, isn't it? Okay. Amelia, do you mind explaining?
Madam Chair, this last handout relates also to, sort of relates to the last subsection, but is slightly different. This relates to the employee retention credit disallowance. And this was this disallowance would have been in effect during the time of the employee retention credit from the federal government. This would amend subsection C10 to allow a subtraction modification for the amount of the federal employee retention credit disallowance under the rules that are similar to rules of 280CA. It would require that the taxpayer prove that the taxpayer previously filed Kansas income tax returns and paid Kansas income tax on the disallowed amount. And it would extend the time frame for filing amended returns to April 15 of 2025, but no claims could be made after that date.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions? Seeing none, I'll make the motion. It's been moved by Senator Tyson. Is there a second? Seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would move that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass House Bill 2465 as amended favorably.
I'll second the motion. It's been moved and second. Discussion on the motion. I know this is a lot of technical for a tax bill, but it is important to quite a few taxpayers. As we heard yesterday, approximately $230-some million of Kansas taxpayer money is not obligated for federal taxes as a result. Obviously, the number won't be as big as this, but it does help going forward, clarifying for the department and ease of processing that information. So all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Committee, I'll turn your attention to Senate Bill 484.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 484 relates to property tax and would provide a property tax exemption for certain personal property, including watercraft, marine equipment, off-road vehicles, motorized bicycles, and certain trailers, commencing with tax year 2025.
So committee, any questions? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. During discussion, the weight limit of 2,000 pounds did not seem to be adequate. I don't know exactly what the adequate amount would be, but my belief is if we amended the 2,000 pound limit or less, 2,000 pounds to 12,000, that would certainly cover the need for trailer owners. So I would make a motion. This is a conceptual amendment, pretty simple, just adding a 1 in front of the 2, which changes the number to 12,000 pounds.
I'll second the motion. Okay. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just got to ask the maker of the motion, what types of non-commercial uses are we looking at for a 12,000-pound trailer?
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It could be a variety of reasons for non-commercial use. I don't necessarily know what they would be, but I know that 2,000 pounds is not very much. And if I am pulling a trailer to load a load of wood for my own use, I'm going to want more than that capabilities of 2,000 pounds. And if a person is using a trailer for their own purposes, for any reason, that has the capacity of hauling with the trailer weight more than 2,000 pounds, I felt that 12 would be more than adequate. If the committee thinks 12 is too high, I'm certainly willing to listen to a different number.
Further discussion? Senator Holland.
So just so I understand, just so when we talk about basically trailers you say like for lawn care businesses, I mean, really, regardless if it's commercial or not, you're saying basically we're not going to, we're going to treat it as basically personal going forward, regardless if it is being used for commercial purposes. Is that correct? Is that what this would do?
I don't think that's what the bill does. I'll ask clarification from Amelia.
Madam Chair, just looking at this particular provision that the senator was referring to, it does include the language used exclusively for personal use and not for the production of income. And I didn't understand the motion to change that.
The motion was not to change that. It was just to increase the weight. Yes, the weight limit. Senator Holland.
I appreciate the clarification, and I will stand down. Thank you.
Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I would like to go with a little less than 12,000 pounds. That's like 6 tons, maybe 6,000 pounds, mainly because if you have something that's 12,000 pounds or 6 tons on your road, your property taxes are usually going to fix that type of infrastructure. That's a lot of weight on our infrastructure. And if you're not paying towards fixing it, as that falls on other taxpayers. So I would just like to make that modification because that's a pretty heavy load on our roads.
Just a minute. I think there's some confusion on how the poundage works for trailers and stuff. So we're going to get clarification on it, Senator Reddy. Just a second. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate the senator's suggestion of 6. I believe that would be too low in current statute for, I'm going to use classic vehicles or antique vehicles. The limit is 8. So I don't want to get into a bidding war here. It almost sounds like that. But the 12, again, was something that I felt like would definitely cover every trailer with a load for personal use. But again, Madam Chairman, if the committee is uncomfortable with the 12, we could move it down. But because we already have an 8,000 in statute, I certainly wouldn't want us to go below that amount.
Further discussion, Senator Reddy.
No, I'm fine with, I think this would work just fine. I was just considering the impact on our roads as all of the more and more property taxes that get exempt, that falls on everybody else to fix those roads where all of these other vehicles will be traveling on, whether it's personal use or commercial use. Thank you.
Very much appreciate your comments, Senator, especially when I see those wind turbines going up and down Highway 81. Thank you. Committee, any other discussion? Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, what are your wishes on the bill? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Seeing no further discussion, I would move that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass Senate Bill 484 as amended favorably.
I'll second the motion. Discussion on the motion. It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Tyson. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Committee, I know we have a lot of bills that, I will turn your attention to one other bill, Senate Bill 376, and then we'll have one more. I know we have quite a few bills that we're not going to be able to get to today, although we do want to get to some of them. We will not be able to until a later date. But 376,
Madam Chair, Senate Bill number 376, related to income taxation and would extend the time period for the single city port authority tax credit. It would amend an existing tax credit to extend its expiration from tax year 2024 to 2044.
committee, any questions? Seeing none, what are your wishes? Senator Peck?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Having looked at 376, personally, I was not, I just don't believe that a 20-year extension is the right amount of time. And if we shorten the time, that means we, the legislature, a future legislature, has an opportunity to look to see if we wish to continue the program. So I have, and again, Madam Chairman, this is a simple conceptual. I didn't ask for a balloon because it's just a simple year change of, rather than it being as it was in statute 2024, but the bill moves it to 2044. I was wanting to make it a 5-year extension, so it would be tax year 2029, correct? Yes. So that would be a motion to strike 2044 and insert 2029.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? I'll second the motion. So discussion on the motion. Senator Holland.
I was unaware of the bringing of the amendment, and I'm warming to it as I think about it.
Would you like to be the second on it?
I think that privilege also was already taken away from me. So I will, yeah, so I like where we're going with the spirit of this. I just continue to struggle about certain aspects of the bill, the size of the players. And we'll really think about what's going on. This is when we talk about, once again, make no mistake, this is a type of a subsidy. And it really kind of gets down to who should pay. And so I appreciate the spirit of the amendment, and we'll be supporting accordingly. Thank you.
Further discussion on the amendment. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I appreciate the comments of the ranking member. Just for clarification of the committee, if you are looking at the bill, there are actually 2 places where the date would be changed from 2044 to 2029. That would be line 7, and then also down on line 23, just to point that out for the committee's benefit.
Thank you. Committee, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries. We're back on the bill. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Seeing no further discussion, I would move that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass Senate Bill 376 as amended favorably.
Been moved and seconded by Senator Holland. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Committee, I'm going to turn your attention to 377. It is the final bill we'll work today. We will work other bills when we return. I'm sure most of you have heard what happened on the House floor, disappointingly. They think there's another train out of the station. That's not correct. So, Amelia, will you give us an overview on 377?
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 377 relates to taxation and specifically to sales and compensating use tax, income tax, privilege tax, and property tax. The bill begins with a new 4-day back-to-school sales tax holiday and also includes the reduction of the state rate of sales tax on food and food ingredients to 0 commencing April 1st of 2024. It also provides a new sales tax exemption for children's diapers and feminine hygiene products. Relating to income tax, it would increase the amount of tax credit for household and dependent care expenses from 25% to 50%. It would eliminate the income qualifier for the subtraction modification for Social Security income. It would also amend the standard deduction for individuals to increase the deduction beginning with 2024. Relating to privilege tax, it would decrease the normal tax rate on banks and savings and loan associations beginning in 24, and then another step beginning in 2025. And then relating to property tax, it would amend 79201X to increase the exemption for residential property from the statewide school levy to the first $100,000 of appraised valuation beginning in 2024. And it would eliminate the annual adjustment that is currently in the statute. And the bill would take effect from and after publication in the Kansas Register.
Committee, any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to make a motion that we strip the contents of Senate Bill 377 and insert the contents of 2284. It's CCR. Thank you for the clarification. CCR 2284. Is there a second on the motion? Second. It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Senator Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, so would it be your intention basically then to just pass the 2284 out unmolested, just and out of committee, or?
No, we're going to work it.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay.
No.
Motion carries. Senator Corson would like to be recorded as a no vote. Senator Holland would like to be recorded as a no vote. And Senator Reddy would like to be recorded as a no vote. Any others? Seeing none, we're back on the legislation. Committee, I have been told that since the House did not pass the veto override, they must have some concerns with the existing bill, so we are going to be making amendments to it. I will make a motion to strip the contents of Social Security and put the language in from CCR 8 that removed the cliff on Social Security. It brings the fiscal note down considerably, and we've heard that's one of the concerns of the governor and of others. So we will, is there a second on the motion? It's been moved by Senator Tyson, seconded by Senator Peck. Discussion on the motion. Senator Holland.
So just to clarify, Madam Chair, we're actually reducing the tax benefit of the Social Security to our seniors with this motion.
Senator, we're helping the fiscal note. There's a couple of things that we're doing with this. We're improving the fiscal note, which was one of the governor's concerns for vetoing it. And she was concerned about the wealthy having more benefits than the low income. Well, we all know that it's 75,000 income or less that you do not pay income tax on that Social Security. So we're going to get rid of that cliff, and you would only pay income tax on the portion above 75,000. You wouldn't pay it on the entire amount. So we are helping. It's just not as good. We needed the legislation, and we had people vote no. So we're going to try running it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what this committee wants to do. I don't think we're going to get another bite at the apple. Senator Holland.
Just a question, Madam Chair. Would you imagine it'd be the committee's desire that whatever we pass out would still contain the basically structure of the single rate tax cut that was vetoed by the governor?
Senator, we're working the bill. I have no idea where we're going to land on this, but I do know that it is my hope that we do see other tax policy. We don't know if that's going to happen or not.
Okay.
Senator Holland.
I guess another thing, I guess what I'm wondering is that, and I want to be very clear when I suggest this to the committee. I do not support the governor's offered tax plan in its entirety. I actually had some concerns about a particular component in that. What I'm wondering is that if would be the committee's desire, because this, my thought is that if we would actually like to have a smorgasbord of ideas to maybe conceptually add, well, of course, you've already stripped it out, I guess, so that's gone. But the thought was basically, if we would somehow put all the pieces of 377 and 2284 in the same vehicle, and then basically just work that, but that would not be.
Senator, I appreciate your thoughts, and let's just work this bill. We're going to run out of time. We're already past the clock, so.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Senator Peck. And before you, I'm sorry, I need to correct myself. I did say CCR 8. This language was in CCR 169 last year, not CCR. And we're going to change the tax year also to, yes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We frequently heard that CCR 2284 was for the wealthy. And as the chair mentioned, currently in statute, if your household income is at $75,000 and below, you do not pay income tax on the Social Security portion. If it's at $75,001, you pay income tax on the whole from the very beginning. So this would eliminate paying it on the first $75,000. And anyone above that, your millionaires and billionaires, as we were told to use that argument, would still have the privilege of paying their fair share if we don't eliminate the income tax for Social Security for incomes at $75,000 and above. And apparently, because of the discussion we heard, $60,000 income is wealthy, because we were told that the single rate, which started at $60,000, was only a benefit to wealthy Kansans, which of course was incorrect. But my point is, Madam Chairman, if that's the concern that we heard frequently from several individuals, then by having this amendment as proposed, to where you would be exempt for the first $75,000 but pay income tax on your Social Security if you earn above the $75,000 figure, I believe that's just fair and just. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Committee, any other comments? Senator Corsi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I know you mentioned yesterday that the Social Security piece of what was in 2284 was actually the most popular piece of that legislation. I know you've heard that. I know that I've heard that when I've similarly been around my district, that people did have issues with different aspects of 2284, but one part of it that was universally popular was the Social Security provision. So I really hate to see this committee take an action that is going to harm the positive benefits of the most popular piece of that bill. So I'm going to stand opposed to this amendment, and I would hope that the committee would as well, because if we are going to make adjustments to the bill, I think there are other areas that we could do it in, but to take away from the most positive, I think, is not the direction that we want to go in, and it's certainly would be unpopular with our constituents. Thank you.
So Senator, please help me out then. You guys have argued against the bill. The governor has argued against the bill that it helps the rich. All it does is favor the rich, that it doesn't do anything for the low-income individuals. But then you won't support the bill. Instead, you double down. And then when we're trying to take out the portion of the legislation that helps the rich, you argue against it. So I'm getting a double negative, and I know in math that means a positive, but it doesn't equate to a positive in this committee. So I am truly confused as to the messaging versus the actual.
Yeah, I think that.
And I have fought for the Social Security piece probably more than anybody in this legislative body. We've all fought as a team, but I have brought that on the floor, I don't know how many times, in amendments, and we've passed it out of this committee and across the floor. I hate to lose that piece, I really do. But the reality is, we're trying to bring down the fiscal note because that was one of the governor's arguments. She said it helped the rich. So this would only tax the portion above 75,000, and it does get rid of the cliff. That's what the major issue is with the Social Security. So Senator, I appreciate your comments. Please tell me which way to go. What would bring you on to 2284?
So what I was going to do in a subsequent motion was I was going to move to strip out the single income piece of 2284, because I think if we're being transparent, that has really been the hang up. I think, we can play these games and try to be kind of too cute by half about accommodating other parts of the bill. But if we're serious, the bill failed in the House today because of the single rate piece. The bill did not have the votes in the Senate either because of the single rate piece. I've been clear that I will not support a single rate income tax. That has been the hang up. The total bill of 2284 is about $1.6 billion. And about 960,000 of that $1.6 billion is tied to the single rate piece. That is what is bringing the fiscal note up. Taking out the single rate piece would leave us a bill that everybody would support, that would get 40 votes on the floor. So that's going to be the motion I'm making, because again, that is the issue of why this legislation has stalled now for 2 consecutive years with a Republican supermajority that obviously has serious reservations about the single rate piece. And we need to be candid, and we need to address that and not kind of play these games where we're hiding the ball and messing with other pieces of bill that we all agree on. Thank you.
Senator, we're not hiding the ball, and that is quite offensive. I don't work that way, and I will tell you, the single rate, that is, in fact, it was announced on the House floor today. We've been talking about the 341,000 filers that will pay zero income tax. I'm not saying they go to zero income tax, but they will pay zero income tax. Those 341,000. Today, it was announced that those are the filers. That's not taking into account the whole family. Over 400,000 people will be positively impacted by that single rate, lowering the income tax. States such as Colorado, there's over 13 states in the nation that have the single rate. Colorado has a Democrat governor, Democrat legislator. They're at 4.4 and they're going to 4.0. This is political in Kansas. It's not about policy. It needs to be about policy and what helps Kansans, especially the lowest income Kansans. Committee, we are out of time. We're not going to move on the motion, but it's going to give you something to think about. I don't even know that we're going to get another tax bill, but believe me, I am forever the optimist, and I will continue to fight, and I know this committee will continue to fight too. This committee has stood up for the taxpayers again and again and again, and we will continue to do so. And I know that the committee, I will not ask you to vote on removing Social Security. but we will ask you to vote on removing food and other items. And I've been told anything with Social Security will not move forward. So it's just a reality, and a reality we need to face. Committee, thank you for your work. We're adjourned.